Harry Potter is one of the most successful IPs of all time. A story where a young man and his friends work together in order to defeat a manifestation of pure evil, a bald guy, is something almost everyone can relate to, which is why if you went around and asked people, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't seen any of the movies or read any of the books. However, the story of the boy who lived has also been told through video games, an astonishing amount of times.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money!
Some you may have heard of, others maybe not, but they all have one thing in common. I have played them. Just a quick disclaimer, this video will only cover games playable on PC. A lot of these games are different than their console counterparts, so if you see something you don't remember, that's probably why. As for the mobile games, while I do have a phone,
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
a lot of those games aren't easy to find anymore and aren't very good in the first place. Sorry. Philosopher's Stone starts off with that classic story that everyone knows. Boy finds out he's a wizard, boy goes to wizard school, boy is jump scared by ginger people, gingers, and then is tasked with collecting beans. Wait, that's not how it goes in the book? Okay, never mind then. After a brush with some dark magic, I don't think this is how you're supposed to play the game, and meeting the clown ghost that loves to follow kids around, except for like it's totally not weird or anything.
Oh, it's Potty Wee Potter!
That's Peeves, the poltergeist.
What the
He's
hell?
always causing trouble. Peeves doesn't like first years, so watch your step.
Young Potter, you're ugly, but what can we do? Everyone says you belong in a zoo.
It's time for our first class, and it becomes apparent pretty fast why the other students don't really like Harry, because we're in the class for a solid 5 seconds before me and the professor ditch every other student and go learn some real magic. Then it's off to flying lessons, and even though the professor is the one that looks like she just downed a 6-pack of PBR, I'm the one that flies like it.
Watch yourself, Mr. Potter.
Oh my god. Yeah, my bad there. After a long day of classes, I have to defend myself from the adult ghost that keeps following me around. But don't worry, it's still not weird, I promise. Then I head outside and find the first ever magical beast.
Hello, Harry, it's me, Hagrid. Good to see you.
Overall, for a game that's older than me, this still managed to actually be fun. If only as a kid I had gotten my hands on this, and not Stuart Little's Backyard Adventure. From what I've heard, Chamber of Secrets is the game people have the most nostalgia for. At the time, it was really pushing its hardware to the limit in order to bring you as close to the wizarding world as possible. For the next generation, you'd think this would be Hogwarts Legacy, but kids don't care about Harry Potter anymore, so they'll just probably look back on the Skibbity toilet skin being added to Fortnite. The game starts off just like the movie, with Dobby coming to Harry's house to warn him about the danger at Hogwarts. Unless you play the PlayStation version, because they don't actually have Dobby in it.
I'd better get out of here. Filch might be lurking nearby.
Well.
Later on, Harry and Ron miss the train to Hogwarts and come up with a plan to take his dad's flying car. After disrupting Flight 175's flight path, causing it to hit the South Tower, they finally arrive at school, but unfortunately Ron gets stuck in the Whomping Willow, and while the situation is dire, I decided to walk around and open a few chests before saving it. When we finally make it into the castle, nobody cares. No, seriously, they don't get in any trouble for this at all. It's not even mentioned once, it's just life as usual. Speaking about life as usual, it's time for our first class, and just like usual, we instantly leave the rest of the class behind. Okay, actually, when does anybody else in this school learn anything? After taking care of all of the turtles that shoot fire out of their which is an odd choice, we head to Quidditch practice where I am easily able to catch the snitch, probably because I beat the other seeker to death. And because we had such a successful day, Harry wins his turn in the bean room. I forgot to mention, but in this game, Hogwarts has an entire economy where you can go around and trade with others for things like a new broom. And because they're all British, the currency just has to be beans. This economy is super important for the best part of the entire game: gambling. It turns out you can wager beans on duels with the winner taking it all. After losing a duel paid for with a high interest rate bean loan and going into crippling debt, I figured it was time for the next game. Up until this point, the game releases had been following the release of the movies, and since there was no new movie in 2003, Quidditch World Cup was made, a spin-off game that focuses on the sport they play in the books, as well as some people in my local park, even though they can't fly.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
While this game was cool for its time and had much better flying mechanics than the previous two, I didn't really play it for that long. To me, Quidditch is one of my least favorite parts of the Harry Potter universe, so this game just didn't really do it for me. The story begins on a train where Ron's rat escapes, and while we're trying to find it, we come across the world's squeakiest owl cages. Later on in class we make history, as Harry isn't the only one picked by the teacher. Unfortunately, Ron fell for the bait and was locked in the basement, never to be seen again.
Hello? Professor Lupin?
After getting soft-locked by an imp for an hour, I go for a spin on the hippogriff, and then watch Malfoy try to bait a lawsuit.
You great ugly brute.
I'm dying! Look at me! It's killed me!
Later on, my teacher turns into a cat, and I finally get to let out my inner beast. No, not a dragon. This game was easily the best so far. It brought back the things that worked from the previous two games, like the crab, and made things like the controls so much better. On top of that, it had on-the-fly character switching like you would see in GTA 5.
Learn to play the f***ing saxophone!
But just like any game company, when they start making something that's good, they do everything in their power to mess it up.
We had a good thing, you stupid son of a...
The first thing I do when I launch any new game is go into the settings and change things so I could have the best experience possible. Unfortunately for Goblet of Fire, this isn't possible. The only setting I could change was subtitles, and because of this, I wasn't able to change the resolution, so all my footage looked like this. For some reason, you also couldn't change any of the controls, so after one mission played entirely on arrow keys, I instantly got this piece of shit off my computer. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to change this game so much from the others, but this game sucks. The game starts off with Harry in the park getting into it with Big D.
Hey, Big D, beat up another 10-year-old? Least I don't cry in my sleep.
Afterwards, we get jumped by some Dementors, and I learned that the game has reworked the way you use spells, from a simple click to wiggling your arm around until something happens. Later on at the safe house, we're tasked with a bit of cleaning, but we just end up knocking the furniture around a little bit and call it a day.
Thanks. That might stop Mum moaning for 5 minutes.
I don't think we cleaned anything. Then we help Ron pack, and I can't help but notice this would have been a lot faster if we didn't use any magic. Back at school, I noticed that Ron looks insanely stoned, so I hit him with a bench, doing my best to sober him up. Later on, we get to the common room, and Ron, the newly appointed prefect, doesn't know the password.
Password?
I don't know it. Do you? I thought you did. Aren't prefects told in advance? Yeah, it was something to do with, you know, I don't know.
Which definitely means that bro's been high as a kite this entire time. While looking around for someone to get the password from, I see Snape and give him a bonk too. And after a long day of classes, I humble my classmates in some chess, and it's off to the next game. Halfblood Prince starts us off on a morally questionable note, as we dump a bunch of potions into a pond because Ron is too lazy to clean.
Quick! Chuck them in the pond!
You can't throw them in there.
Safer than washing them.
Just think of the fish.
One encounter with Ginny that manages to be more awkward than the movies later, and we're back at school. In potions class, even though I have the Halfblood Prince's textbook, I still struggle to make a potion.
Let's add some of this.
Oh So I take my anger out on the other students, running into them at full speed. Me and Ron then decide to have a friendly duel, but he doesn't know I have an auto clicker, so he gets ran. After that, it's my job to put together a roster for the Quidditch team, but unfortunately this is where my journey ended because every time I walked onto the bridge my game crashed. Now I'm gonna do something here that no one has ever thought of doing before, which is put both the Deathly Hallows into one part, mainly because these two games aren't really worth your time. They both follow the movies closely, just sprinkling in some extra parts here and there, so you actually have things to do like kill spiders. But the combat doesn't even feel good, because they basically turned your wand into an SMG. I feel like I was spoiled with the first 3 games, because while they weren't perfect, there was a clear progression of them, getting better with every installment. Along with that, the simplified style really got you immersed in the world. Then at Goblet of Fire, they took everything and threw it out of the window. Luckily though, not every game after the first 3 is bad, and the prime example is... After a 12-year break, Hogwarts Legacy released, the first game that was set before any of the events in the Harry Potter story. The story starts off with you, a student, and follows you as you catch up on what you missed, and work to defeat an enemy the size of Peter Dinklage. But I'd actually say that while the story isn't bad, the story is the least interesting part of this game. What this game does so much better is its exploration. Hogwarts itself feels alive. No matter where you are, there's always something to look at or do, like this puzzle I still haven't figured out.
Let me just,
And the small details they added are pretty awesome, like this guy just playing music. On top of this, the place is also massive and easy to get lost in. And even though it's littered with fast travel locations, the game makes you want to walk from place to place because you find something new every time. Aside from the castle, the world itself is alive too. There are detailed towns, places to explore, and interesting quest lines like saving a person who has been falsely imprisoned in Azkaban. But don't worry, she seems fine.
Hogs, field.
Okay, maybe not. The combat is also by far the best out of any of the games. And while it's not the best system ever, elements like parrying spells and countering shields with certain magic types make it feel really good. Overall, this game is easily peak for the franchise, and definitely worth playing if you haven't. Quidditch Champions is a game that came out a couple months ago, but despite that, it's pretty much already dead. This is quite unfortunate because after loading up the game, they clearly intended this to be a live service game, with fan favorite features like a battle pass, skins, room trails, and emotes. After creating your character, you're taken through a tutorial, and then it's off to the races. I wanted to play as a beater, but because of long queue times, the game suggested I take any role I can get. So of course, when I finally got a game, I was filled as a keeper. This role was insanely boring, so I decided to take more of a roaming keeper approach, but the game didn't like that and killed me on sight.
The keeper has been taken out.
Wait, I died? In the next game, I finally got the role I wanted, but still got slammed by some people a lot higher level than me. I guess the few people that play this game do not mess around. And that was every Harry Potter game for PC. If you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you might like this one, or you could subscribe so you never miss an upload.